At the risk of sounding negative, government has no business building homes. Government has no business building homes. The idea is great.
So welcome, guys. So you've seen the thumbnail, you see the title. Kenya has a housing problem, has a housing issue. I think both governments, actually, I can say successive governments have tried to make solutions out of this, but I don't think there's any government that has actually been able to solve the issue that has been or is the Kenyan housing problem. So today we're going to be reacting to this video of KABOGO at Spice FM. I'm going to link the video of Spice FM, who I think are one of the best professional podcasts or interview sessions, whatever it is, in Kenya. Bar none. I mean, there's none other than. So I'm going to leave the whole, you can listen to the whole interview. However, in this, I'm going to just take the parts which I think are focuses on housing, because these are, of course, real estate channel. And my name is Gideon. This is Eka, where we talk about anything and everything real estate. So I'm gonna start with this clip, and then I'm gonna react to it, and then we can have a discussion about that. Right? Awesome. So let's go about it.
Like now, the president has a very good idea about giving us homes.
Yeah.
It's important because shelter is one of the things we fought for.
And it's a fundamental right, really.
But how this project will be implemented, in my mind, is still a very big question.
Kenya has a big housing project. In fact, the UN projects that Kenya, just Nairobi, needs 200,000 houses per year. And at the current rate that are being done, you're actually getting 20,000 houses per year. So there's a deficit of 180,000 housing that's a deficit, right? So people need houses. I think this is just a basic need like any other country. We need houses as everyone. But then the problem is the housing that is actually being provided is not even for the middle class. People who can afford 12, 15, 25 million are actually in Kenya upper middle class, right? So it's not even the middle class. The Kenyan middle class cannot afford a house as it is currently. So that's true. And the fact that the government is looking for solution for the housing crisis that is in Kenya, on that point, perfectly okay, right? So let's check out the next clip. All right.
You understand? How many Kenyans will own homes? And I'm talking about the lower cadre of society.
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking about the Latifs, KABOGO, and others. I'm talking about Mama Mboga. How will she get a flat of 2.5 million shillings after 7 years? Is it going to be possible? Big question.
So
and the president can come up with a good idea, but it must be
a support system.
It must be discussed and turned upside down like ugali to make sure that you have left no stone unturned in terms of how it shall be implemented and the effect of this project 10 years from now. At the risk of sounding negative, government has no business building homes. Government has no business building homes.
I totally agree. Leave the building, and this is something that I also have an issue with the government. The government, as it says now, they want to provide housing so that they can provide jobs. I think that is looking at something from the tail end instead of looking it from the people need houses, right? People need affordable houses. If part of making those houses there is job creation for the young people, that makes a lot of sense. However, government going and making those houses by itself, that's the real problem. For me, I would rather it's the other way around actually. How about the government making business environment friendly for the private sector to build those houses? I mean, we have, let's look for now at places in like Kitengela, Rongai. If you have the roads made, sewage, planning, I can be able to afford a piece of land there and go and build there. One, because there are roads, right? Two, if everything, construction material and everything is not very expensive, that would make me easier for me to be able to build there, right? Then I, in the building of those processes, or even other developers, would be able to employ the youth that you're talking about. But the government wants to cook, if that makes, want to bake its own pie and eat it. And for me, it's a no-no. You you have to do one or the other. Policies, regulation, structure. That what I think that one of the main differences between William Ruto and the Kibaki era. I'm not gonna just leave out Uhuru. Uhuru, I did actually do quite a bit of infrastructure. Of course, it came at a cost, but Kibaki used to put business environment that is conducive for people to be able to do things. But this time around, it's like the government wants to do those things, and everyone is saying that is not possible. You have to. The private sector is such a big component of this, but it's actually being left out of this. If that makes a rent, yeah, that makes a rent. If my rent makes any, so let's look at the other clip. All right.
How would I do it? Government makes policies. For example, government finances banks.
Yeah.
I mean, regulates banks,
Licenses
banks. What would be the effect of government making a policy today and saying, Equity Bank, Barclays Bank, Absa Bank, in your regulations, we want to say 5% of your portfolio must go to
real estate.
mortgage. And we want to go further and say 5%. 5% of your portfolio. Say equity has a portfolio of 1 trillion. 5% must go to mortgage, at an interest rate of 5%. Why are we dictating the interest rate? To make sure that the Kenyan prospective homeowner gets mortgage at 5%. So what happens to the other bit? Because the bank is a commercial bank. I would propose to state to allow those banks to represent the difference, 5%, and allow it as an expenditure for income tax purposes. That will allow tax to be spent at source. But to a Kenyan to own a home, then KABOGO the builder, you the developer, we will make homes, and banks will give money to Kenyans
To purchase the homes.
to purchase homes at 5%. And that bank, in its annual returns to government, it shall produce 5% that it should have earned on that loan and be allowed for income tax purposes. Sote tujenge taifa.
As I said, Kenya, we have a lot and lots of ideas. It's just the implementing. I mean, it looks like we know what to do, but sometimes I don't know what happens when we try to implement some of this stuff. My name is Gideon. You can check out my other videos. See you next time. Cheers. Thanks.